Barcelona new star, Chutian's legendary rise begins. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 11, Copa America in the summer of 2015. The Pampas Eagles lost on penalties. The South American Reds won the cup for the first time. For a long time, Mecho Wong's mood was not pleasant. He had a not-so-happy holiday and returned to the Barca training ground. Hey, Messi, Suarez stepped forward and gave him a big hug. Is the holiday still enjoyable? In the face of this problem, Messi smiled a little. His expression immediately returned to calm, and said, "Fortunately, I am worried about the problem of the new season now, because Xavi left, which caused a big problem in our midfield exposure." One by one, the players walked out of the aisle. Pique, Roberto, Rakitic, Mascherano, and so on, familiar faces, greeted him kindly. Messi struggled to find an Iniesta and Busquets, and couldn't help but worry a little. If something went wrong between the two of them, Barca's midfield would be completely ruined. Fortunately, Xavi and Professor Bu stood at the bottom of the line. Messi couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. All members of the Barca first team returned. The teaching assistant blew the gathering whistle. Enrique clapped his hands and announced that the warm-up training had begun. Messi and Suarez did one-on-one training. Football is like a mischievous elf, flying back and forth between the two. Sometimes it rotates at high speed, sometimes it sinks vigorously. Suya suddenly said, "Don't think about it so much. Head coach Enrique has found a solution in midfield." Messi wondered, what method? Suarez laughed, Chutian. It was the midfield solution that Enrique found. The sun was fierce. Messi narrowed his eyes and asked incomprehensibly, "Who is Chutian?" Suarez had a serious expression. "You didn't watch the news of La Masia when you were on vacation, did you?" Chutian. Recently, a hot teenager has been called Harvey's successor by fans and major media. He's only 16 years old. Even the head coach of the youth team, Gerard, praised him. Messi. I have carefully watched Chutian's video, although his technique is a little poor, but the pass is very good, the field of vision is wide, the consciousness is excellent. One person has driven the rhythm of the entire youth team. I don't believe you can go to see it yourself. He's really exactly like Xavi. He's playing football with his brain." Messi smiled and shook his head. "Suarez, I rarely hear you praise a person like this, but a player like Xavi is unlikely to have any successor. This is an era that emphasizes time and space. I don't care what that Chutian's technology is. The strength of the youth team, the intensity of the game, and the first team can't be compared. The gap is too big. When I was 17 years old, I scored in the youth team like a hemp, and it was like a big deal. I stepped into La Liga at the age of 17, walking on thin ice, and it took me half a season to gradually adapt to the rhythm. Xavi is the core of Barca. He alone can keep our formation in front of the enemy, directly in the midfield to complete the offensive and defensive conversion, which relies on his God perspective. Not technology can make up for it. His information on the space of the stadium and the running position of the personnel is not understood by ordinary people. There is only one person in the world who can maximize the time and space of Barca as a whole, and that is the former Xavi, so I don't believe anyone can replace him. Xavi, there can be no successor. The other side, La Masia youth team training ground. Chutian was practicing with the boys. He stopped the ball dashingly at his feet. Enzo rushed forward and tried to grab the ball. Chutian easily flicked and then buckled, and defused Enzo's coercion, then passed the ball to Tel. The crowd was slightly surprised. Just one day later, Chutian's possession became visible to the naked eye. Enzo scratched his head. What's going on? Again, as a left back, his breakthrough ability is very strong, and his defensive interception counter-stealing ability is relatively average. But no matter how average, it is impossible to grab Chutian's ball. As we all know, Chutian's passing is a must, and the possession technique is too good. The ball came to Chutian's feet again. Enzo picked up his spirits and forced Chutian to be close to him. Chutian easily guarded the ball. The left foot is flicked back and forth. There was nothing left for Enzo to do. "I concede defeat and I concede." Chutian, what did you eat? Today's ball control is too good. Enzo gave up. The little bald-headed Palic shouted, "I'm getting bread and milk from old Jack's shop." Tel frowned, "Are you sure you're taking it?" Palitwick blushed and defended, "That old guy is holding a copy of the Playboy and is fascinated. I pay, and he ignores me." The crowd laughed. La Masia is extremely strict about the private life of the players, and the hormones of the teenagers are vented on the pitch. Courtside, Gerard looked at Chutian and couldn't help but marvel. Chutian brought too many surprises. He seemed to be improving every day. The children subtly surrounded Chutian's side. Kane enshrined him as the leader of the team. The captain's armband, since the old teammate left the team, seems to have been vacant for a long time. Episode 12. 3 days later, Chutian insisted on training hard for 10 hours a day, and all the attribute points he gained were added to the possession. Possession 74. Just the improvement of 3 attribute points has greatly improved his ball sense. Enzo also completely gave up the idea of challenging Chutian. Even the 2 central defenders of the Barca youth team had a hard time defending against Chutian when he held the ball. Today is Sunday. Tomorrow is another wonderful day for the fans. Chutian and his teammates boarded the club's plane and were heading to the banks of the Manzanares River, 600 kilometers away. The Barca youth team will be on the road, taking on Atletico Madrid youth team. On board the plane, Heredito Cheeks pondered, Atletico Madrid's youth team is our #1 rival. Last season, the other side even reached the Final Four of the Youth Champions League. Even trickier is their new signing forwards, Thomas, the 18-year-old Atletico talent, who joined Atletico at the age of 9. Became the most crazy super genius in Atletico's youth academy. This season, he scored 5 goals in 3 games. 3 assists. Opponents include Real Madrid youth team. The technical assistant coach seemed to see Gerard's thoughts and whispered, "Head coach, the opponent's offensive is very strong. I suggest you can consider playing a defensive counterattack." Defensive counterattack? Gerard shook his head. In La Masia's blood, there has never been a defensive counterattack. Since Xavi retired, why did Atletico become Barca's sufferer? Whether it's a youth team or a first team, very simple. The metaphor of the image is, a literary and artistic youth engaged in art has met a big bully with rich combat experience. Various shows for literary and artistic youth. The big bully just slapped a big slap in the face. Call you saw. A long time ago, Atletico Madrid was also a technically delicate literary youth, until a man named Simone came. He turned Atletico's first team and youth team into bullies. Play with knives between your teeth. Simeone was a bully when he was young. After he took over as Atletico's manager, he also trained Atletico lads to be domineering humptiers. Blood. The word has been incorporated into Atletico. When we read Atletico's match reports, we often wonder why Atletico always wins when they only have 20% of the ball. This is unique in Europe, because Simeone's tactical style is to release possession. At this point, Barca's passing advantage is extremely chicken. Talk to me about the philosophy of transmission? Give you a big slap. Of course, all this happened after Xavi retired. On board the plane, Chutian closed his eyes and recuperated. His idea was simple. In an environment where you can't train, you have to take a break. As for Atletico's youth team being the nemesis of the passing team, he didn't care at all. The great influence of the La Masian sports newspaper was limited to the northeast of the Matador nation. On the banks of the Manzanares River, there were not many waves. Only at Atletico Madrid pays attention to his presence. In this game, everyone is optimistic about Atletico Madrid juniors, more bullish on their super genius Thomas. Atletico Madrid. Inside the office building, talented player Thomas stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. He is 1.83 meters tall, long blonde hair. It has an angular and arrogant face. His lean muscles show his explosive power. His personal offensive ability is comprehensive, and his organizational ability in the front court is equally outstanding. Barca youth? The corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and his face was full of disdain. Thomas is a native of Madrid. Since childhood, he has been a genius who has been widely watched. Even Simeone was full of praise for him. Growing up under the praise and flowers, Thomas has developed a character that no one has in his eyes. At this time, a short, fat man walked over, surrounded by bodyguards. "Hey! Cute little Thomas, we can now complete the brokerage signing. I am very optimistic about you." This short fat man is Mino Raiola, the best football agent in the world. He unearthed countless geniuses, operated again and again for sky-high transfers. Thomas said with an arrogant and lukewarm expression, "I am honored to be your player, Mr. Mino." As a native of Madrid, his family conditions are good, the material needs are not high, and he really does not have much good feelings for this short and fat man. If it weren't for the fat guy's transfer functioning and a lot of player protection clauses, Thomas was very dismissive of such merchants. In his eyes, only Mendes deserves him. Moments later, the two completed the signing. Mino Raiola put down his pen and skimmed his lips. "Thomas, little Thomas, I hope we have a pleasant cooperation in the future." Thomas's attitude made him a little uncomfortable. No player has ever behaved so coldly in front of a short fat man. Thomas said, "Mr. Mino, I heard you will be in Madrid for 2 days, and I hope you will come to see me tomorrow against Barca Youth." Mino Raiola's eyes lit up. "No problem, little one, I will definitely be there on time. I am looking forward to your performance. Against Barca Youth team, it will be a fierce and exciting game." Thomas smiled dismissively. "Intensely exciting? It might disappoint you. I can kick them through." Episode 13. Mino Raiola walked out of the Atletico office building with a big belly. "Thomas, this boy is not easy to fool. It took a while to sign him off." "Cow, what a cow. Lao Tzu has seen more geniuses." The short fat man scolded and grinned. He has been called a transfer rule changer. For the players, he is God, because this short fat man manipulated many first-day price in history transfers. For the club, he is the devil. Unable to meet the price of this short fat man, the club will lose a star under the rules of the devil. Since 1992, he has manipulated countless blockbuster sky-high transfers, and he loves to invest in young talented players with potential. For example, Balotelli. Thomas, as a supernova at Atletico, he took a lot of effort to get there. This is the means and eloquence of Mino Raiola. The next afternoon, Mino Raiola came to the stands at the Atletico Youth Stadium. The short fat man muttered, "The fans in Madrid are really enthusiastic. The stadium is bustling and packed." Atletico are very iron-blooded. Atletico's fans are equally hard-blooded. The race has not yet begun. Players have not yet entered. There was a flood of shouts from the fans in the stands. Thomas, Thomas, Thomas. They chanted the name of Supernova. A Madrid native, 18-year-old Thomas was expected by Atletico fans. I'm glad he didn't go to Real Madrid. In the minds of fans, Thomas is Atletico's first team, the next generation of super forwards. Thomas played 3 games on the youth team. It was a big surprise to the fans. They all know Simeone's first team is not invulnerable. At this time, the weakness of the Atletico first team in La Liga is also obvious. Their midfield is not creative enough. Facing Barca's Messi, a super player with the ability to organize breakthroughs, is a loss. It was weak in the face of Real Madrid's back-and-forth lateral passes. Atletico first team. Lack of a creative super front. That person, it's Thomas, this super genius with Atletico's iron blood. Fans are convinced Thomas will be able to make up for Atletico's shortcomings. He led Atletico to the top of Europe. The water column on the sidelines is cut off. The inspection team walked off the pitch. The busy figure of the stadium maintenance staff gradually disappeared. It heralds the imminent start of the race. The shouts from the stands are getting louder. Mino Raiola also shouted. The assistant next to him wondered, "Boss, Thomas is so popular with Atletico fans. Is he willing to transfer in the future?" The short fat man smiled dismissively. The question of whether to transfer or not is meaningless. The player decides what route he takes. I am responsible for helping him clear all obstacles and make money by the way. Barca youth team dressing room. Rad tapped on the tactical board and patiently explained to the players the tactical play to pay attention to. Atletico youth attach importance to defense, emphasis on counterattacks. They are likely to give up possession. We have to pay attention to the gap in the backcourt. He then drew a circle with a red pen on Atletico's number 10 piece. Moby, your defensive task is very heavy. You must keep an eye on Atletico's number 10 player Thomas. He is not only fast, but also very comprehensive in attack. Is our biggest threat. Moby is a left center back for Barca's youth team. This big 2-meter tall man carefully jotted down the coach's words. Keep an eye on the other side's number 10. Hurd continued to tap the tactical board in a solemn tone. And Enzo, against Atletico Jr., your breakthrough space will not be very large. Thomas is used to moving on the right side. You pay attention to do a good job of defense. If they use deep defensive tactics, then their formation will be 4-4-2. At least 8 players will be involved in the high defense in front of the box. We have to be careful of their high pressing. Don't get caught up in their crazy rush. Keep a good rhythm. Especially you, Tell. Don't get tangled up in the ball. Atletico's youth defense is very layered and they can easily cut off our attacking passing connection and start organizing a counterattack against us. Tell scratched his head and wondered, Coach, what should we do? Frade said without thinking, pass the ball to Chutian. Okay. Instructor. The lads of the Barca youth team nodded seriously. Immediately they all looked back at Chutian. The eyes are full of determination. Although Chutian had only been here for a few days, his almost perverted passing and control of the game made these Barca geniuses have no fear. Just pass the ball to Chutian. He can lead us to victory. Under Barca's tactical system, the return task of forward small bald head Palatek is not heavy. He didn't take the coach's words to heart. The idea of the little bald head is simple. Chutian will create a great opportunity. Just grasp the opportunity to score goals. Hurd shouted, ready to play. Lads. Come on, come on. The players are speaking in unison. Chutian smiled lightly. I started to look forward to the game with some anticipation. Episode 14. Inside the player channel. Players from both sides are divided into 2 columns, waiting for admission. Thomas's gaze was fixed on the Barca youth team, and a dark-haired, flowing oriental face caught his attention. This Yengu boy is Chutian? As an old rival of Barca, La Masia sports newspaper puts it on the club's table every day. Thomas watched the news a few days ago and knew the deeds of Chutian leading the team to break the Sevilla youth army, but I didn't take it to heart. The opponent of the Sevilla youth team is not worth mentioning in his eyes. La Masia won a fishbelly team and began to brag about what Harvey's successor? What else to brag about with a wide view? Strong awareness? Metronome? A Yengu boy, but just lucky, just a few good balls. Still wearing a number 4 jersey? How big is the face? I'm a super genius. Thomas looked at Chutian with a defiant look, with a sly smile of disdain on his face. The queue moved. Players from both sides began to enter. Chutian's expression was calm, ignoring Thomas's provocative gaze and walking directly past him. Thomas's expression stiffened. The hateful Yengu boy dared to ignore me. You wait, on the court, I will let you know. What is despair? Players from both sides walked out of the aisle. Immediately, there was a deafening shout from the stands. Thomas, Thomas, Thomas. Thomas looked proud and enjoyed the enthusiasm of the home fans. The players of the Barca youth team are a bit uncomfortable in this atmosphere. That's one of the away disadvantages. The boos of the huge home fans will also indirectly affect the performance. Chutian was very calm, and he didn't feel much about the boos. On the contrary, I secretly sighed, this is the youth team, and it can have so many enthusiastic and crazy fans. Moments later, players are in place. The referee looked at the watch. The whistle blew. The race is on. Atletico youth took the lead in kicking off. Very abnormal. They didn't defend as high as Herod had predicted. It's about showing an oppressive style of play from the start. Crazy front press. Barca's youth players were unable to react for a moment. Thomas received football, but he stopped the ball and looked at Chutian. Atletico's youth attack stalled slightly. The teammates were puzzled, and it was obvious that it was a good opportunity to hit the opponent's unprepared attack. Thomas, pass the ball. Thomas ignored it. The expression is arrogant. In the youth team, he has absolute authority over the matter. The core of Atletico's midfield was not in a hurry to start organizing the attack, but rushed directly to Chutian with the ball at the first time. Thomas, known as the genius of Atletico, is also extremely good at dribbling. Chutian smiled faintly, a little confused, why Thomas wasted an opportunity to organize an attack to provoke himself. His ability to intercept and steal is not a long one. Steals 64. Apparently unable to snatch the ball from Thomas's feet. Thomas was fast, sneering with the ball, a fake action, and easily swung past Chutian. Cheers from the audience. The fans clenched their fists in excitement. Thomas is so handsome. This is so outstanding. Haha, that's how it was shaken. Crushing posture. This Oriental boy from Barcelona is here to be funny. Followed by, Atletico fans booed at Chutian. Barca's youth were able to breathe and set up defensive positions at the back. Thomas continued to carry the ball forward, and his heart was darkly disdainful of Chutian. Supernova from Yengua, Harvey's successor, dare to ignore me? At this level? But that's it. He began to get carried away. Thomas, here. Pass the ball over, completely disregarding the echoes of teammates. No passes. One person begins to hold the ball deeper. Once again, two Barca youth players have passed in a row. The defense line of Tofu Slag. Barca youth army. I'm going to beat you through. Soon, Thomas went into the box. Alone, a tall figure stood in his way. It's Barca's youth defender, Moby. Thomas smiled coldly, already imagining in his mind where to shoot the ball at the goal after passing. Here. Pass, Thomas. Teammates on both sides shouted desperately. Pity. He remained unmoved. He clung to the ball and made all sorts of fake moves to try to get rid of Moby. In just a few seconds, another short Barca player came to assist in defending. It's Barca's left back Enzo. He and Moby began to form a defensive alliance. Under the pinch of the two, Thomas, a super genius in a hurry to perform, hesitated for 2 seconds and still did not pass the ball. This led to his complete loss of space for shooting and passing. Moby broke the ball and let out a kick. Thomas, who lost the ball, ignored the dissatisfaction of his teammates and angrily scolded, "FUK." The ball skipped the gap between the two Atletico players and slid straight into the center circle. Came to the feet of Barca youth back Bic. The players in red and blue jerseys start running fast. Barca strikes back. Begin. Episode 16. Courtside. Herod excitedly, and the technical assistant began to celebrate. They didn't expect the youth to take the lead less than 5 minutes into the game. Be aware, Barca's youth team was relegated last season. Atletico's youth team is a Junior Champions League Final Four. At the beginning, Atletico's oppressive play also frightened Herod. He feared the Barca lads would be caught off guard, but the result was reversed. Barca youth team lead 1-0. The northeastern part of the Libyan Peninsula. The sports channel of Barca TV is broadcasting live. Barca Youth vs Atletico Madrid Youth. The narrator excitedly describes the footage of the goal replay. Let's take another look at this goal from Barca's youth team. Atletico's youth team started with a high-pressure style of play, with the opposing number 10 player alone putting the ball into the box. Then our defender, Moby, with Enzo's help, grabbed the ball, 1 foot on the ground, directly to the middle circle. After the back of Bic got the ball, he looked up and passed the ball obliquely to Chutian. Oh my god. Even if it was replayed, I couldn't help but marvel. Chutian's long pass, the ball tore open the opponent's defense. It's Palic. 1 kick and shoot. Barca Juniors, in 10 seconds, with just 3 passes, played a beautiful counterattack. The team can take the lead only because of Chutian. Chutian's passing and vision are simply too strong. Barca fans from thousands of homes stood in front of the TV. At the moment when Chutian kicked out the instep of the outer foot, he had already begun to cheer. I believed. I don't believe it when I read the newspaper. I believe it when I watch the live broadcast. Chutian is Harvey's successor. How did he do it? Without looking up at his teammates' positions, without looking at the enemy's defenses, and kicking the ball out of a beautiful line. This vision is too indescribable. I'm going to blow this foot-long pass. His foot movement seems to be straight to the ground, but the outer instep is kicked in the middle and lower part of the football. The trajectory of the football deceived the opposing defender, and the landing point deceived the opposing goalkeeper. I dare say, Harvey can't play such a long pass 100%. I'm not happy to see Atletico's number 10, that big gavel in Madrid. How dare they provoke our Chutian? These Atletico fans can really boo. The next time Camp Nou is home, I'm going to leave them without good fruit to eat. Looking forward to the next game. Cheers, Barca lads. Give me the Atletico's egg. Most of Barca's fans have no way to go to the banks of the Manzanares River, more than 600 kilometers away, to cheer on the team, but they keep a close eye on the team's games, especially after Chutian joined, gave them great hope. Seeing the live broadcast of this game made them more confident in Chutian. Atletico Madrid. The little bald-headed parrot arrogantly made all sorts of strange gestures to the stands. In the stands, there were two angry young Atletico fans throwing lighters, drink cans at him. The security guards were used to it. This is also a characteristic of the stadium, since David Beckham's corner at Atletico's home team. Atletico fans don't really smash people with big things. The little bald head finally stopped hissing under the warning of the referee. Chutian smiled lightly and quickly walked back to Barca's half, without expression. On the way, he stumbles upon Thomas watching him. Face the latter's jealous eyes. Chutian was dismissive. He was even thinking. In the high-level league, some players are thinking about how to use various small means to deliberately provoke the opposing enemy players, deliberately letting the opponent cause mistakes and fouls because of emotions. For example, Atletico once had a goal, and the divine winger named Diego Costa is a typical representative. Why is this Thomas going to provoke himself? Chutian didn't bother to pay attention to this Atletico number 10. Atletico fans have gradually calmed down. They think it's just the bad luck of Barca. Our super genius Thomas will soon be back in color. Just a goal behind, the fans are cheering for the team again, accompanied by rhythmic drum sounds. They shouted Atletico's slogan, Calcaneros, Calcaneros, Calcaneros. The sound of the tide flooded the entire course. The advantage of the home field is fully reflected. The players of the Atletico youth team have regained their morale. There are a few inexperienced young men in the Barca youth team, and when they hear the enemy's cheering slogans, an indescribable taste wells up in their hearts. The referee blew the whistle. The game restarts. The trailing Atletico youth team was given the opportunity to restart the ball. The soccer ball rolls gently on the grass. This time, Thomas became cautious. He started passing the ball to his teammates. Start active running position interspersing. I'll do it for Tat. The race has really begun. Episode 17. As he began to get serious, the Atletico youth team's running was methodical. The formation is extremely layered. The ball changed hands many times in a dozen seconds. Chutian tried to drive the passing rhythm of the game, but Barca defender Bic made frequent mistakes in the away environment. After all, it is a youth team, inexperienced, and has only played 2 official games. At this time, he was booed by Atletico fans and committed 2. The ball that came out was either too strong or weak. It even came out of bounds several times. The rhythm of Barca's youth team cannot be mobilized. Coupled with the high pressure of the Atletico youth team, the link between Barca's offensive lines has been repeatedly cut off. The competition between the two sides is becoming more and more intense and more anxious. Courtside, head coach Hurd frowned, and he whispered a few words in the assistant coach's ear, explaining that he would replace the unstable back Bic in the next dead ball time. The game came to the 9th minute. Thomas carried the ball in the first half. He made a circle and swung past Barca back Bicker, who had stepped forward. Start dribbling breakout. He exploded extremely fast, quickly carried the ball into the box. In front of him again, Moby's tall figure appeared. Barca left back Enzo also came to assist. Thomas smiled coldly. The heel gently pushes the ball. The ball rolled quickly against the ground, passing through the gap between the two. He split the ball to the right. The Atletico winger inserted on the right side starts directly from the side. Football with a whirlwind. Fly to the front of the penalty area. The one that passes the line is not too far ahead. The Barca goalkeeper waited in a tight position and did not dare to rush out. Atletico's big center forward found his place and leaned on the Barca center back. Seeing the football about to fall into the penalty area in midair, Atletico's big center forward jumped high. He is very good at bouncing, and he is the best in the header at first glance. Shake your head vigorously. The Barca goalkeeper fortunately judged the right direction and raised his hands. Jump high, but he jumped 2 seconds late. It was the big head that hit the football first. Dangerous, only to see the football rubbing against the beam, sliding through the goal. The fans in the stand sighed and were disappointed. Thomas Blackface, such a good opportunity, cannot score. Barca goalkeepers and centre-backs breathed a sigh of relief. It was dangerous. The big centre squatted down in chagrin and punched the turf hard. What a pity, just a little bit. Teammates shouted at him, no time for you to be upset. Hold on. We're behind now. The big center forward heard this and immediately ran out of bounds and picked up the football, politely placed the ball at the penalty area T-line. Raising his hand, signaled the Barca goalkeeper to serve quickly. Can't let Barca stall for time. Stands. Fans are also very sorry for this good chance to score. Just a little bit off. Don't worry, our good boy Thomas, still dominant in the youth team game, with 80 minutes left in the game. I heard that Simeone was ready to transfer Thomas to the first team after the start of the La Liga season. What a beautiful person. What a handsome split. Thomas, I love you. We'll equalize. We will overtake. Victory belongs to us. Atletico, come on. Come on Thomas. Barca goal kicked out. There is no long pass. It was safely passed to left-back Enzo. Enzo observed for a moment and passed the ball to Chutian. The ball comes to the feet. Thomas was furious and wanted to grab it. Pity. After all, it is a youth team. Thomas is a forward. His offensive ability is very strong, but the defensive ability to press and intercept is very poor. Chutian's possession is 74. He slashed left and right, and the ball was easily wiped past Thomas's side. Thomas's eyes were filled with anger. Atletico's genius turned back. Atletico's back is also in position to intercept. Chutian had already observed the movement of his teammates. The right foot gently pushed obliquely, and the ball rolled close to the ground, passing to Terra, who ran out of the gap on the right. Meanwhile, Chutian went straight around Atletico's back. Tel pushed the ball across his feet. Beautiful, 2-over-1. From God's perspective, several pass lines were once again sketched in my mind. The running information of all players begins to be combined with the line. A short moment, Chutian found the best route. It's a gap on the left side. He subconsciously adjusted his pace slightly. The body is tilted with the inside of the right foot. Swing your legs. Calf power. Left foot hit the lower left of the football. Kick the ball out of the instep of the outside. Atletico's two center-backs inexplicably took a cool breath. Here we go again. Thomas's face grew ugly. The Barca backcourt players looked at this picture from a distance and couldn't help but get excited. In the stands, the hearts of the Atletico fans tightened. Football is like a beautiful rainbow. Holes pierced the backline of Atletico. It also pierced the hearts of Atletico fans. The ball landed on the lawn on the right. Barca right winger, big boy who doesn't like to talk, Dongu, killed it this time. He easily lifted his foot and stopped the ball. Ahead is an extremely open area. All the way, there is no obstacle. A fantastic one-handed opportunity. Atletico's youth players were desperate, and some of them even gave up on chasing back. The landing point of Chutian's pass was really exquisite. The speed of Dongu is also too fast. Ride the dust. Face the goalkeeper directly. He calmly kicked and shot. The ball speed is extremely fast. The ball crossed the crotch of Atletico goalkeepers. Drilled into the nest. 2-0. Barca youth team once again leads. Episode 18. Wow. Goal hero Dongu, the first time, did not celebrate himself. Instead, he ran to Chutian and excitedly wrapped his arms around his waist. This introverted teenager who doesn't like to talk, it is not likely to communicate with teammates. In previous youth team games, there have been very few teammates passing the ball to him. He hadn't scored in a long time. At one point, I even had self-doubt. Am I not suitable for playing football? Thank you. Chutian, Dongu choked excitedly. He knows that if he doesn't perform well, can't break the goal drought, and can't cash in on his talent, he will soon be swept out. Clubs will only raise useful players. Thank you, Chutian. Chu Tianguan smiled. They are all teammates. What is there to thank? Your shot is wonderful. You're the one who scored. Other Barca lads also gathered around. Cheers and celebrations. The little bald head smiled and said, Don't cry. Dongu. You're like a big bride right now. The Atletico players were listless. The goalkeeper kicked the goalpost in anger. Thomas followed Chutian's ass. He looked blankly at Chutian, who was surrounded by his teammates after scoring a goal. Wrath. Unwilling. Jealousy. All kinds of complex emotions intertwined, making him tremble involuntarily. Thomas glanced at the short fat man on the stage, his agent Mino Raiola. Jealousy gradually overwhelmed the intellect. This is my home, this is my stage. You are a boy of the Yen country, why did you steal my limelight? Courtside, Barca lounge area. Hurd was shocked. Chutian's growth was really too fast. Especially the ability to control the ball. What's even more terrifying is that Chutian's pass is very stable, right? Very stable. A normal professional player of the youth team, in the training of no one interfering, 100 feet of long passes, there will always be more than a dozen mistakes. But Chutian made no mistakes, right? In the passing on the field, there is never a mistake. Chutian, the stability is terrible. The other side of the pitch. Atletico rest area. Head coach Manish looked at Chutian from a distance. The old face of the ancient well also showed surprise. He had seen the report in the La Masia sports newspaper. Little attention was paid to this Harvey successor. The successor of a certain star, this prefix, is a derogatory term in the eyes of the old coach. He had seen too many unworthy genius teenagers. Therefore, naturally in the pre-match tactical arrangement, the players did not let the players stare at Chutian too much. The old coach calmed down his excitement and pondered. This young man of the Yengua, and the boys of the youth team, are not a grade. Chutian's understanding of time and space on the court far exceeded that of his peers. He was playing football with his brain. Harvey is also playing football with his brain. Stands. Atletico fans are no longer shouting. They started whispering. This young man of Yengua is so strong. Both attacks were launched by him, and he completed the final pass. His possession is also above the level of the youth team. When did Barca have such a genius? He seems to be even more than Thomas. Shoo, don't mess around. It's still early. Thomas will definitely be able to equalize. Mino Raiola didn't even look at Thomas. He stared at Chutian deadly, and his eyes became more and more frantic. Damn, didn't you say he was averagely technomorphic? This possession, this excellence, obviously reached the level of the youth team, not to mention kicking his vision and consciousness, and that 1-foot pass. The short fat man scolded the assistant. The assistant said, "Boss, I also combined Chutian's pass data." "Data doesn't lie, go for your data." "Let the damn data go to hell," Mino Raiola scolded and grinned. Looking at Chutian's back, he couldn't help but fall into meditation. How this feeling seemed to be similar. He remembered one of his players, Balotelli. In 2005, the short and fat man met a 15-year-old young boy, Balotelli, in La Mazzana. My God, what a wonderful encounter. The short fat man had a poisonous eye and signed Balotelli on the spot. Began a legendary transfer journey. In 2006, at the age of 16, Balotelli moved to Inter Milan. It began to shock the football world. In 2010, the 20-year-old Balotelli joined Manchester City. Same. Balotelli shines in Europe. Win the Golden Boy Award. In 2012, at the European Championship, the brilliant Balotelli shocked the world. In 2014, the operating Balotelli moved to Liverpool. Behind all these transfers, inseparable from the operation of Mino Raiola, the short fat man shook his fat face and withdrew his thoughts from the memory. His eyes looking at Chutian became more and more frantic. He firmly believed that Chutian must have brought shock to the whole world, and it would definitely be even worse than Balotelli. Timid Barca back Bic was replaced by the manager. As he walked off the field, he bowed his head in shame. Bic knew that because of his repeated mistakes, Chutian could not drive the rhythm of the team. Gerrard gave him a hug, comforting, "Good boy, you are doing a great job, but, professional players, you must have a strong heart." On the pitch, players from both sides returned to their respective halves. Thomas was burning with jealousy, looking at Chutian, his eyes gloomy. The team is behind again. He had no idea of equalizing. He only wanted to stick to Chutian with this front waist. Episode 19. Even the genius of Atletico's youth team, Thomas's level was also very different from Chutian's. In the world, geniuses like Thomas come up with many things every year. Like Chutian, there is only one. The gap between the two is like a heavenly barrier. This was quickly demonstrated on the pitch. After Bic was replaced, Barca has a new mischievous lad. His name is Coco. No stage fright at all. Confident and calm. Make a grimace at the small bald head. Chutian smiled slightly. As long as the teammates' mistakes were not serious, his performance could begin. The referee blew the whistle. Atletico kickoff in the middle circle. After a few passes, Barca's newly replaced back, Coco, seized the opportunity to break the ball. Immediately after, he grinned and passed the ball to Chutian. Chutian couldn't help but sigh. La Masia's little demon star is really fucking much. Atletico's youth team began to retreat. Ceded possession in midfield, even if it is backward. Also gave up possession. Just don't concede any more balls. There's still a chance. The old coach brings Atletico's children back to their most familiar style of play and defend their dignity. Seek life. They gathered in their own backfield and began to build a vertical position defense. Come on, Barca youth. As long as your formation is pressed forward, we will surely find the opportunity to counterattack. You don't have Xavi. You can't connect perfectly. Don't try to score another goal. The lads of the Atletico youth team are united in their hearts and their eyes are determined. Only Thomas was at odds with them. The Atletico super genius has only Chutian in his eyes, and he is not involved in Atletico's defensive system. Instead, he kept sticking to Chutian. Chutian, with the help of God's perspective. The positions and directions of all the players of the Atletico youth team are like stars, twinkling on the pitch. Very pure Atletico high defensive. He was secretly in his heart, and he was not in a hurry. Also in the Xavi passing module, Chutian gradually magnified La Masia's advantages. It also gradually awakened the La Masia tiki-taka gene in the Barca boys. The passing rhythm of the entire Barca youth team was driven by Chutian. Football is like a naughty elf. Scroll back and forth between red and blue jerseys of different numbers. Rampage through the lawn. Thomas is like a bulldog, being played by Chutian and the Barca lads. He was exhausted. Physical fitness drops extremely quickly. I can no longer hear the persuasion of my teammates and old coaches. Jealousy and anger made him lose his mind. He's not good at intercepting steals. Not to mention, the last 2 decades, countless great defenders have proved that when facing tiki-taka passing, it should not be easy to lose position, and it should not be easy to get out. Barca's youth took control of the game. Chutian took control of the space. Stands. There was silence. The fans didn't make a sound anymore. Barcelona at this time, Chutian at this time, awakened their memories. Tiki-taka. The concept was invented by Ball St. Cruyff in 1988 when he was coaching Barca. This magical tactic has had the biggest impact on the football world since its inception. Passing makes possession. Passing creates space. Historically, teams that have adopted this tactic have all stepped on top of the world. But this tactic has the biggest drawback. The passing ability of all players is extremely demanding, and the vision and awareness and IQ of the core of the midfield are even higher. The lads of Barcelona are from La Masia. La Masia was founded by Ball St. Cruyff. Children in La Masia have been indoctrinated with the tiki-taka philosophy since childhood. Today, in the face of the Atletico youth team that gave up possession, Chutian completely awakened the tiki-taka gene in the Barca boys. This young man of the Yen country is too strong. I never thought I'd see tiki-taka again in a youth team match. The gap between Thomas and Chutian is visible to the naked eye. The voices of Atletico fans revealed helplessness and loss. The game unconsciously came to the 44th minute. In Chutian's vision, a passing line appeared. He gently kicked it straight in. Football goes straight into the penalty area. The line is just too tricky. In front of the penalty area, the high defensive Atletico defenders did not have time to react. In the forbidden area, a bald head appeared. Another one-handed opportunity. Palak faces the goalkeeper. Eyes on the far corner of the goal. The right foot pushed the ball into the near corner. The Atletico goalkeeper, who conceded 2 goals, was not deceived. He opened his left hand. Confiscate the ball. The little bald head covered his face with his hands in disappointment. Turned his head and apologized to Chutian. Thumbs up. Tell on the side couldn't help but think to pieces. Palatwick, you big parallel goods. This can't be kicked in. How many chances have you wasted in 2 games? After saying that, he ran back to the midfield. The little bald head, still standing in the penalty area, loudly defended. It's the Atletico goalkeeper who is too stupid and dead-headed. Next time I won't lie to him. The Atletico goalkeeper, who had just finished the goal, crossed his hands at his waist and rolled his eyes. Hey. I'm right behind your back. Is it really good for you to say bad things about people like this? Rude little ostrich eggs. The referee blew the whistle at the end of the midfield. The game goes to halftime. The camera of Barca TV switched to the live broadcast room. The narrator could not suppress the excitement in his heart. Oh God! What do I see? It's tiki-taka. We at La Masia have won 20 trophies with it. 4 Champions League titles. It also ushered in the golden age of our Matador nation. Helped us win the European Championship twice. A World Cup. Since Harvey retired, Enrique had to give it up. But now, what do I see? Chutian brought tiki-taka to the youth team. Chutian. It's too strong. Episode 20. Barca dressing room. Head coach Gerard exclaimed to the players, "Lads, you guys are amazing. I never dreamed that we could lead by 2 goals in the first half." The technical teaching assistant added, "Coach, almost 3 ahead. Our opponent is the Atletico youth team, which has reached the final 4 of the Youth Champions League." Gerard smiled, patted the Yengwa teenager's shoulder, and excitedly said, "Chutian, you are amazing. Whether it is the organization of the midfield, or the offensive and defensive conversion of the front and back fields, and Palatki, Dongu, our 2-goal heroes, they didn't waste the opportunity Chutian created, and our big man Moby. Enzo, it was they who intercepted the attack of the other number 10 at the beginning, and Bic, who was replaced." The young man found the ball accurately to Chutian. "Lads, every one of you is amazing. Come on, in the second half, keep that style. Based on defense, expand again. Forget it, you just pass the ball to Chutian. Dry flip Atletico." The Barca lads are full of fighting spirit. Atletico dressing room. The old coach, Messi, was black-faced and did not say a word. The players kept their heads down. Trailing by 2 goals in the first half was a huge blow to the morale of the team, especially the 2 center-backs and goalkeepers. The atmosphere solidifies. I don't know which guy knocked over a bottle of mineral water. The old coach couldn't hold back any longer and began to scold angrily. It's not terrible to concede a goal. It's not scary to fall behind. The terrible thing is that you have lost morale. Have you all become little sheep? Atletico's iron blood has not all dissipated. Show your fighting spirit. Tiki-taka is not invincible, and our first team coach Simeone has also beaten Barca at the peak of passing. You soft eggs. Pick up the spirits and press high. I have only seen your high position. Didn't see your persecution. I'm getting older. Marchnay scolded, and his voice became hoarse. The goalkeeper muttered in a low voice, "The first team can win, but our youth team has no Godin, no Torres, no Griezmann." He was very quiet. The dressing room was quiet at this time. The words all fell into the ears of the old coach. The old coach began to scold again. "Oh? Our youth team does not have a door god like Moya. Lads, in the second half, don't follow the rhythm of Barca. Play Atletico, rush to rush. Forced to break the pass control, already 2 goals behind, what else to worry about? Your personal strength is far superior to each other's. We were the team that almost lifted the Youth Champions League trophy." It's a very moving statement. The Atletico lads looked up, their eyes full of fighting spirit. The old coach looked at the Atletico super genius in the corner again and asked loudly, "Torres, why don't you follow the tactics? Why do you have to stick to that hot teenager? Our Atletico defense is a whole, a central axis, and it's because of you. Torres bowed his head, his expression sinister, and his eyes became more and more sinister. He doesn't care about the team's backwardness. Instead, it was filled with anger towards Chutian. Damn the Yengwa kid, this is my home field. Intermission ends. The referees led both players back to the game. With a whistle, the second half began. Barca's kickoff. Dongu directly knocked the ball back to Chutian. Chutian touched the ball with one foot. Pass the ball to the back section. Everybody knows. Barca's passing is about to begin again. Coco had just passed the ball back to Chutian with one kick when he was knocked to the ground by a large man. It's Atletico's big center forward. The referee did not blow the whistle. Make a gesture of raising your hand and signal Coco to get up. Chutian frowned slightly. The big man on the other side is testing the scale of the referee. He didn't think much of it, and after receiving the ball, he began to methodically comb the Barca midfield with passing. Barca mastered the rhythm. Atletico players began frantically pressing in the middle. Two Atletico forwards are also involved in the defense. Their bodies were much stronger than the lads of Ram Asia. The action is very fierce. Barca's players were knocked on their backs, especially the posterior lumbar family. He was already thin and weak, and the opponent in midfield was Atletico's big center forward. After he was hit for the fourth time, the referee finally blew the whistle and warned the Atletico players. No cards played. Chutian shook his head. The scale of fouls in the youth team game is much looser than that of the first team. As long as it is not too excessive, it will only warn. The game unknowingly came to the 48th minute. Tell faced two center-backs, with no chance of breaking through. Passed the ball directly to Chutian. The ball just reached the foot. Thomas's eyes darkened, and he was overwhelmed by anger. Facing Chutian's calf, he unleashed a fierce sliding shovel, not rushing the ball to go. It's rushing people. Chutian couldn't avoid it. He has long observed the Atletico genius rushing forward, but God's perspective is used to play football, not for fighting. No one expected Thomas to be so bold in making such a move. Yikes. Thomas kicked Chutian's calf. Put the Yengwa boy down. There was an uproar. The referee immediately blew the whistle and aborted the game. The little bald head Palak rushed to the scene of the accident at the first time. With a bare head on Thomas's head, he scolded him. You. Kicking is a malicious foul, right? There's a rush to me, at #UN%. You are the dog. Players from both sides ran over excitedly. The scene was chaotic for a while. Atletico fans in the stands also began to swear. The two referees rushed onto the pitch and began to help stop the dispute between the two sides. The referee drew a yellow card at Thomas. Your movements are so bad. I warn you, one more time I will send you off. Thomas's head did not turn back, and his face was full of arrogance and disdain. The chaos soon subsided. Chutian stood up with a calm expression. He has 78 physical abilities and is not a glass man. When the scene is chaotic, Chutian was already wondering how this free kick that Barca had won should be sent. Stands. Mino Raiola looked at Chutian, rather surprised. This Yengwa boy was too calm. He's more focused on the game itself. And Thomas? Totally out of mind. How dare you do such a bad deed? Two people, high and low judgment.